The Black Monday Murders is unlike anything I've ever seen in comics, but what else do you expect from Jonathan Hickman? What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is iRate Reviews, where I go over a book for its writing and its art, and give you a little bit more in-depth idea as to what you can expect from a book, and whether it's something that you should really go grab or not. So today I'm going to go over a book called The Black Monday Murders. So this is issue 1 of The Black Monday Murders, which came out about a month ago, and it's written by Jonathan Hickman with art by Tom Coker. And this book takes one subject that most people don't really care anything about in the world of comic books, which is Wall Street, and ties it in with the occult to make it one of the most interesting books that I've read in a very long time. I am a bit of a Jonathan Hickman fan. I did discover his Fantastic Four run, his New Avengers run, his Avengers run, and all those other kind of books like the Nightly News and all that kind of stuff a little bit late. I really appreciate his writing style, as well as how he can kind of weave a narrative. As far as Black Monday Murders issue number 1, this really sets the stage for what we should expect. This is really about the richest of the rich, the people that are behind the scenes of the people in the shadows. People like the Rothschilds and various other international billionaires that control the wealth of entire countries, or at least in this alternate history. And what we see is that these financial institutions, the School of the East, the School of the West, that kind of stuff, is intrinsically tied to the worship of the original deities of, like, Mammon. So it's just like the original god is tied into wealth, and there's a lot of different things that Jonathan Hickman's including to say that this is older than any other known language. This relationship between people of power, that have prosperity, have been in relationships with the god and for a long time. And that's super interesting because it's taking a topic that, like I said, not a lot of people really care about. Nobody really wants to know about Wall Street other than the fact that they, they're stealing my money or that kind of stuff. And they take this and kind of give it a very dark spin. In order to be prosperous in that kind of environment, you have to be touched by this kind of evil. And overall, issue 1 gives us our eyes through the detective that is going to be investigating these cases and kind of piecing these things together as we go along, and we learn that he's kind of tied in to a little bit of voodoo himself, either from a historical perspective, but overall, super interesting story by Jonathan Hickman. Then we go into issue number 2, where issue number 2 really picks up where we left off, where one of the Rothschild heirs is now taking the seat after her brother was in, he had to untimely leave kind of situation. And overall, we see a little bit more of the stratagem behind how these different families have moved through time, gaining and maintaining the kind of wealth that they have. And we get a little bit more insight as to, how they communicate and where the meeting places are, and how deeply this kind of occult ritual goes. It's awesome. It might not be for everybody, but for me, I'm a pretty heady guy in that respect. I like these deep kind of conceptual thoughts, and I like the way that Hickman tells a story, so I'm definitely on for the long haul in this book. Despite the fact that it's just like, this could be extremely dry for a lot of people, but he found a way to, kind of make you salivate and want a bit more. You want a taste of this kind of storytelling, these kind of clues that are going to be dropped throughout the entire story. So that's super awesome in my book. As for the art by Tom Coker, it's very complementary to the way that the story is being written. Since we're in different eras, he captures the details of those eras particularly well. And then ultimately, I feel like his style isn't necessarily photorealistic, but ultimately it has a whole lot of detail that really ties in the rest of the book and grounds it in a reality that makes it very relatable, especially when it comes to things like the occult and the development of these kind of symbols and this character or artwork pieces. So you can definitely tell the difference between somebody that's a little bit more aesthetically superior, like the Rothschilds and the investment bankers and those guys. They tend to be a little bit more polished in terms of their overall look and their wardrobe, whereas you have like this kind of professor sitting in his little library and whatnot who's a little bit more disheveled. Same thing with the detective, put together but not necessarily to the same level. And then you have these otherworldly kind of elements like Abby or Abigail, who is obviously not of this kind of world. She looks very, David Bowie, Man Who Fell to Earth, kind of like She's like an alien. I swear to God, she's an alien. So what it comes down to is that I really appreciate the writing. I really appreciate the art. And overall, if you have any idea of what Jonathan Hickman's about, or you've read some of his other books, I don't see this ever being really a disappointment for somebody that's already familiar with that. If you're somebody that wants a little bit more intellectual kind of take, a little bit more kind of mysterious, Lovecraftian kind of story that kind of winds in with modern economics and policy, this is like the only book that's ever going to do that, so go pick it up. I can't recommend it enough. I can totally understand if you don't dig it, but it is one of the books that I'm probably going to be picking up for a long time coming. As long as it's running, I'm probably going to be grabbing it. So that's my review on the Black Monday Murders, but I want to hear what you have to say too. So hit me up in the comments down below and let me know what you thought of the book as well. As always, if you like what you see, hit that like button down below, and don't forget to subscribe to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.